The Art of Leadership Network.
Hey leaders, welcome to the LeadCulture Podcast. I'm your host, Jenni Catron, founder and CEO of the Foresight Group, where our mission is to cultivate healthy leaders to lead thriving teams. This podcast is for leaders who want more than just good intentions. You want clarity, confidence, and practical tools to lead well in the real world. Each week, I'll equip you to navigate the challenges of leadership and culture with insight that you can actually put into practice. We'll explore what it really takes to lead yourself well, because the way you show up as a leader shapes everything, from your decisions to your team's health and your momentum. My goal is to equip you to lead with purpose, strengthen your culture, and create environments where people and organizations flourish. Along the way, you'll hear conversations, real stories, and proven frameworks from leadership and culture topics to insights from guests and leaders who are committed to doing the work of leading well. So whether you're leading a team, an organization, or simply working to grow as a leader, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and continue this leadership journey together. Well, friends, welcome back to the podcast. I have had the privilege of having some amazing conversations this month, and this one is no exception. I am joined by Anthony Lambatos, who is the president of Footers Catering Events, which is based in Colorado. He's also the founder of MIBE, Making It Better Every Day, which is a culture building and training organization. And so even as I say that, y'all know why I was so eager to connect with Anthony. We met at a John Maxwell High Capacity Leaders Speakers event. And when Anthony got on the stage and started talking about the work that he has done in culture with his company, the company he's founded and created and helping others build culture, I was like, Anthony's my people. So Anthony, thanks for being here. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Oh, Jenni, thank you so much for having me. I couldn't agree more. What you're doing is incredible, and there's so much alignment. So this is going to be fun.
So fun. Yeah. As soon as I started looking around at your website, I was like, oh my gosh, we do such similar work. But I was like, again, finding other culture champions who believe in the significance of this work is so meaningful. So I'm so excited to have you here today. And I'm excited for people to hear your story. So will you give us a little bit of the backstory? Give us a little bit of your career journey. And ultimately, I want to hear the story of Footers Catering, because that, in my impression, or is where like the heart for culture kind of emerged for you. But fill those gaps and give us your backstory.
Yeah, 100%. So my dad started Footers Catering in 1981. I literally grew up in the business. I also grew up saying I'd never be part of it. I was,
of course, right?
I'm doing something else. That was not my thing. That was my dad's thing. He is a consummate hospitality professional and loves the industry. I thought I wanted to be in sports. My life took a turn of events, and I ended up back working for him. And there was a turning point in my life where a mentor of mine, I was having breakfast with him, and I'm asking him, I'm like, Bob, I missed my calling. I should have been a college basketball coach. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? Why, Anthony? And I'm like, well, there's strategy and there's game plan, and you recruit people to come be part of your team. And, when they get there, they want to get to the next level. So you help them grow, and you got all these different personalities, and you help them work together, and all of these things that were going on and on. And Bob just looks at me and he's like, Anthony, you can do all that at Footers. And that was a defining moment for me that really shifted my view of what my job could be at Footers, that it wasn't necessarily to figure out what we were going to serve or how we were going to execute an event. It was to bring the right people in. It was to create an environment where they could thrive. And that really spoke to me. That was something that my dad didn't have that. My dad was all about hospitality, and his nickname was the Tornado. It was your typical hospitality company where yelling and throwing pots and pans and fighting and bickering and behind the scenes was just chaos, but out on the floor, it looked fine. And I just saw that and I was like, no, I don't think it has to be that way. And so when my wife and I purchased the business from my dad, that was our whole thing, was like, let's just create a great place to work. Let's focus on that. Selfishly, we wanted it to be fun. When we came to work, we didn't spend much time here. We want to enjoy it. And it really manifested itself into something that's beyond my wildest dreams. Like if you had to paint a picture of where we are now, back then when we bought the company and said, this is where you're going to be in 15 years, I would have been like, you're full of it. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is, but like, that's not where we are. And so just so fortunate that we've gotten to where we were. We've, 4x the revenue with our business. We've been named the best place to work for multiple publications for over the past 10 years.
That's awesome.
Our turnovers, I think it's 50% better than the industry average. And we've, a lot of people have taken note of what we've done and wanted to come learn and hear about it. And so that's what inspired us to start MIBE, which is the acronym for Make It Better Every Day. And our whole focus is similar to what you're saying. We believe if we can help people become better leaders, they're going to create better places to work. And when they create better places to work, the people that work in those organizations are ultimately going to find more fulfillment, not just at work, but in their lives as a whole. And that's something that just is I'm honored I get to do the work and help people do that, because we spend a lot of time at work.
That's right. Should be fun. I love that so much. And I'm curious because I have not spent a ton of time in the hospitality industry in my background, but my perception, so you can correct this, but my perception is that what it was when you bought it is probably more of the norm. Like, the intense, fast paced, crazy behind the scenes and, looks good out in front. So like even the expectation that it could be different was probably felt a little audacious. Would that be fair?
And still, I mean, to this day, we'll have people that come into our kitchen, like come work for us, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, this is weird. And for the people that they get excited about that and they like that, it's amazing, but it's a stark contrast for the people that are like, no, like, I like how it used to be. It's like, well, you're probably not a good fit for what we do here.
Right.
There's still so many people that have that old school mentality, and they cut their teeth in that same way, and that's a tough thing, right? We learn from the people that were above us, and so if we didn't have great examples of leadership, we're just going to emulate that and become
that's
that.
Right.
And so I think that's a big thing that we face and fight when we're working with people we work with. But yeah, the thing I talk about is for so long our industry has been all about the guest. Serve the guest. If the guest is the most important, treat them with, go do whatever it is for the guest. It's all about the guest. And our philosophy was like, well, no, we're going to serve our people first. And we're going to believe that if we serve our people, they will then do a better job of serving the guests.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're alone in that. I mean, I look at healthcare. It's all about patients, right? And it's like, well, maybe we need to think about the doctors and the nurses and the people that are taking care of those patients. And if we take care of them, they're going to then do a better job.
They're going to take care. Yes. Yeah.
I think education too, right? Like serve the student. It's like, well, we need to think about the teachers and the administrators. So I think there's a lot of other industries that are similar in that vein.
Yeah, I do. I think that's the natural default for most industries and organizations. I work with a lot of churches, and I will often tell them, hey, your staff are actually your first congregation. Like, we focus on the congregation. I'm like, but sometimes churches can be some of the worst places to work. And I'm like, that's not okay. That's not, So I think every industry or every type of organization has its version of that, where we fixate so much on who we're serving that we forget that our staff or our team are our first obligation. If we do that well, the ripple effect of that actually, we actually accomplish the very thing we want to accomplish. Yeah. Talk to us about what did you and your wife do when you bought the company? You have this vision for what you think it could be. I know that didn't happen overnight. So, or if it did, then you really everybody, tell us, what did that look like? How did you start addressing the culture, and what was some of that process for you guys?
Yeah. Great question. I'll tell a couple stories here, because this is the first thing that we learned is that culture isn't a project.
That's good.
We focused so much on culture. We're going to get this great culture. And we worked really hard at it. And we did a lot of things to make Footers a much better place to work. And then we just went back to catering. Mm-hmm. And a few months later, we were like, this isn't as fun. What happened? Why isn't this, what happened to our culture? And it was such an aha for us of we stopped thinking about it. We stopped focusing on it. And that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. And I'm sure you agree. You have to think about culture every month, every week, every day.
Yeah.
These things need to be threaded into your day-to-day norms of business because your culture is going to exist. The question is, are you going to be intentional about what it looks like, or are you going to let it happen by default? And
that's right.
whatever happens, and it'll ebb and flow because you'll still have a culture. It just may not be a country-like. So that was a big shift for us. In terms of how we got there, I use the analogy of pushing a boulder up a hill.
Mm.
If we're all trying to push this boulder up the hill, that's what culture is, right? Like the culture is at the top. We got to get this boulder on the top to have this shift. In most organizations, what you have is 10 people. I'm just slimming this down. And if you think about 10 people, let's say 3 of them are really excited about this. Like, we want culture to be great. We're going to do this. And so they're like pushing this boulder. You got 4 people that are just like, I'm going to see what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not sure. I'm not against it, but I'm not necessarily going to help them. I want to see what happens. And then you got 3 people that are like, nah, I'm cool. I like it how it is. I don't want any changes. And they're like pulling the legs out. They're pulling the boulder back the other way. And in most companies, this is what happens because, and you get no progress, right? You got 3 on 3,
right.
and you have 4 that are doing nothing. And so no change.
Great analogy.
Where you are. And so what you have to have is you have to start looking at those 3 that are working against you and have some really hard conversations of like, look, you either got to stop pulling against us or you're going to get off this bus, or we're going to help you get off that bus. Like,
right.
My wife says sometimes you got to throw some people off the boat, and like that's part of it. And so getting rid of the people that are working against you, you won't make progress until you do that. And then
that's
you got to start recruiting some of those people that are on the sidelines watching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's why we're doing this. Here's what we want to accomplish. We need your help. We want you to be part of it. Okay, why? Why is this important? Why should I be? What can I add to it? And all of a sudden, now you got 5 people that are pushing this boulder up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
You got 1 person that's pulling it back the other way, and you got a couple people that are watching. And now you have momentum. And now it's moving, and you've got this traction that's going. And pretty soon, the people that are watching and working against are either going to get dragged or they're going to get left behind. And you really get momentum as a company. And so that's the analogy I use, because that's what we had to get some people out that had, were stuck doing it the way my dad had always done it. And they didn't want it to be different.
Yeah.
And we had the champions, some of which are still with us today, that were part of that transition, that were like, no, we see what you're doing. We love it. We want to be part of it. And they were the ones that helped drive it forward.
Yeah.
Because culture, I've been banging this drum for a long time. It's not perks and benefits. Right?
That's right.
That's part of culture. But at the core, and I think I shared this at the high capacity, but for me, it's 3 things. Do you have people that are doing jobs they're really good at? Do you have a company that they believe in and they feel like there's purpose in the work they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And number 3 is, are they doing it with people they love, trust, and respect?
Yeah.
So if we're going to focus on culture, like, those are the things we're going to start focusing on. How do we help people build closer relationships? How do we talk more about why everybody's job matters within our organization? And how do we make sure we're putting people in jobs where they're really thriving and doing work that they're proud of and they feel good about?
That's
and
good.
So then once you get the foundation of those 3 things, you can add the fluff and the fun. And we have a lot of those fun perks and crazy things that like we can talk about. But those don't mean anything if you don't have the core and the foundation.
That's so good. Yeah. The way we talk about culture is it's clarity of who we are and how we work together to achieve the mission. So the mission, we got to have a purpose. We're a team on a mission. It's not just the kumbaya, warm, fuzzy, like make everybody happy, which I think sometimes people mistake culture. When they hear culture, they just think it's that. They think it's the perks and the fun stuff, the nap pods and free pizzas. And it's like, gosh, if you just do those things, and I love how you even talked earlier about, the mistake of recognizing, culture isn't just a project. It's not just this one-time thing that we do that magically fixes it. It's the how we work. It's our behaviors. I heard Mark Miller, he's a retired VP of Chick-fil-A. He's so fantastic. He was telling a story about some leader that he was talking to, and I think he was asking the question, well, how often do you focus on culture? And the leader was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, once a day, once a week. He was like, it's everything we do. Like, I never not think about culture because it's how we work together. It's everything we're doing in how we work. So I love how you define that doing work, and I'm going to paraphrase you, but the doing work they love, doing good work, having a clear purpose, and then people that they love, trust, and respect. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to be a part of an organization like that? But sadly, that's becoming the exception, I think, not the norm.
Yeah.
And, one of the things, I just did a podcast episode a couple of weeks ago where I talked about leadership and culture trends that I'm seeing for 2026. And one of those, which I think has always been true, but I think it's becoming increasingly true this year, is that the companies that are focused on culture will attract and retain the best talent. Like the employment market, at least in a lot of the organizations that I work with, is a little tighter. The jobs are a little bit leaner. There's just not as much movement going on.
Yep.
And so people want to be a part of and want to stay a part of great places to work. And so I think that just becomes an extraordinarily competitive advantage when companies are intentional about the environment they create.
I couldn't agree more.
Anthony, talk about, and I'm sure there's a number of things that you did, and you can say more, but one of the things that stood out to me is the 4 convictions that you have for the company. And I'd love for you to talk about those, how they've shaped the culture. In the LeadCulture framework, we talk a lot about how our values are like an anchor to the culture. Like they begin to help set the framework for culture. Yep. My suspicion is your convictions operate similarly, but tell us about your convictions and how they've shaped your culture, what they look like in action.
Yeah. So when we started to realize we had something to share with others, I mean, we were just doing catering, right? We were building this business. We're having a lot of fun. And all of a sudden people are knocking on our door like, hey, we want to learn from you. Can you teach us? Can you share? And we're like, what are you talking about? And what we did, because we weren't following a playbook. We didn't have somebody that's like, here's how to build Culture 101. Here's how to build your business. We were just doing what we thought was cool. And when we looked at it, we realized like, oh, here's the things that we were doing. And this is like, there was science behind why it was working. And so
Smart.
We distilled it down into those 4 convictions, and all of our curriculum is really rooted in those 4 convictions for MIBE. So the first one is lead. Value people for more than the job they do. And what this means to us is that I don't think when I walk in the door that like personal Anthony stays outside and professional Anthony all of a sudden appears. Like if my personal life's in shambles, it's probably going to show up impact how I show up at work. And if I'm struggling at work, probably going to impact my personal life at home because I'm going to bring it home to the people that I love the most. And so this whole idea that you keep those 2 things separate just didn't jive with us. We're like, no, like bring the whole person in and let's figure out how we support that person, understanding that there has to be a balance between supporting them and supporting the company. And when those things get out of whack, like you have to deal with that. I don't want to mistake this as like, oh, whatever the employee needs, you give it to them. It's like, well, does it work in the confines of making the business successful? And so the things that we've done over time to support people when they've gone through hardship or done things that, when they need, even celebrate positive things in life, how are we celebrating those things? And, knowing who their family is and honoring those things, like, that means so much to have that conversation with somebody, as opposed to just like, you're a waiter, you're a salesperson, you're this, and that's the only value you have to us. No, I want you to feel like you matter as a person. So that's the first one.
So good.
Number 2 is love. Open your heart to be authentic, genuine, and vulnerable. And this, we're big Brene Brown fans, and vulnerability not being, sharing those deepest and darkest secrets, but vulnerability really being about willing to share where your limitations are. I talk a lot about this during COVID. Like COVID disproportionately impacted our business.
For sure.
I never thought my business could go to 0 overnight. I knew we could have a downturn, but like literally all we do is in-person events. We don't do drop-off or delivery service. Like we do big parties. That's what Footers does well. And you can do no parties. Like that's intense. That's hard. And so if I would have like rolled out to my team and been like, all right, team, like here's what we're going to do. I know exactly how to solve this problem. And we, no, like this was my first pandemic. And so the conversations we had during that with our executive team, some days looked like me, feeling good about what we were doing. And other days it was like, guys, I don't know what we're doing. And I need help with this and this, because here's what I know and here's what I don't know. And I need you to step in here. And the trust that we had built up over the years working together, then, exponentially compounded during that time because we were all willing to be vulnerable and not be up there, because for so long it's been the leader has all the answers, right? And it's this all-knowing person that dispenses the wisdom and information on everybody. And our belief is that's not necessarily the case. That the strongest leaders come to the table and collaborate and are willing to truly be authentic and not be pretending to be somebody else. So
that's really good. Yeah.
that's number 2. Number 3 is MIBE. And this is, there's always more to learn and room to improve. And this is the idea that we're never done, that we're always keep evolving. And a lot of people find that defeating. That like, oh gosh, I'm never going to get there. And like,
there's never a finish line. Yeah.
It's like, well, no, we're celebrating along the way. But it's this idea that like, if we can keep improving and evolving, like that's the goal. And we MIBE actually came from one of our team members, because the mission statement of Footers is a 3-bullet mission statement. It's love what you do, make it better every day, create exceptional experience. And I came into the kitchen one day and one of our team members was like, did you see the MIBE that happened? I was like, MIBE, what are you talking about, MIBE? And they're like, we're making it better every day. Like we did this. And
I love it. I love it.
They were the ones that like own that. And the cool thing now is it's like part of the vernacular. You come to Footers, they're like, how do you MIBE this? And this needs a MIBE. And this, you MIBE that. That's awesome MIBE. And like, it's just how everybody talks. But that's the cool thing, that everybody is so invested in owning how they can participate in improving things that we're doing, that it's powerful, that it's not just on one person, the creative person, to come up with this. It's like everybody takes ownership in that. Yeah. And when we do that as a company and when we do that individually, I think that's where you get just incredible results.
Yeah, that's so good. I love how, just to pause you before you hit the 4th one, I love how it was somebody on the team that even came up with the acronym, right? Because they were just living into that vision.
Yes.
And they were embodying it, and like they turned it into MIBE, and then now it's language, which those kind of evolutions in culture, I think, are so powerful, because language shapes culture in such significant ways. Our behaviors shape culture. When it bubbles up from the middle of the organization like that, that they are really embodying the vision we've cast for it.
And I'll add on one story to this too, because people love to, how do you get new people bought into what you're doing? And
great question.
It was one of my favorite emails that I've ever received. And it was from our pastry chef at the time. And she had been with us for 2 months, like, fairly new. And she used MIBE, I think 6 times in this email. And it was all about how she was MIBing our breads. And none of these things were like legendary. We were never going to get somebody that was like, oh my gosh, like how you slice the bread, when bread should be warm and when it should not be, when it should be room temperature. And then it was like how to do bread in bread baskets or something. They were pretty minor things.
Sure.
That we would never get like, no one's going to be like, oh my gosh, the bread slicing was amazing on my event.
Yeah.
But the fact that like she was thinking about that and finding 3 ways to make it better, I was so excited for not just that, but I knew whatever we did, she was going to then be looking at how that gets better. And that just raising the bar on everything we were doing. For somebody that had been with our company for only 2 months, shows how powerful it is when the culture is so strong and the language is strong, that she was immediately ingrained and part of it within 2 months.
That's so good. That's so good. And so critical, right? Because, part of the danger sometimes when a culture is distinct is making sure that when new people come on, they get caught up to that culture quickly. And so that, so just the fact that a short couple of months in, she is like, fully embodying it. I love that. That's so good. Those stories are fun.
We focus a lot on first day experience. Like, what does your first day look like at Footers Catering? There's a whole, it's over the top. There's a parking spot with your name on it, and whatever your favorite Starbucks drink, your coffee order, we have that for you ready because we've asked about that in the interview. And you have your first full 2 weeks, every hour down to the minute is mapped out of what you're doing, who you're going to be with. We have your desk is set up, all of your logins are ready to go, everything. It's just so good. The whole thing is really curated. And I was having, I was meeting with this, we had hired 3 people and they all started on the same day. And I was meeting with them at the end of the day. And I was like, all right, so tell me about the experience. How, what do you think so far? And one of them goes, oh my gosh, this was the best first day ever. And the next one said, no, this was my last first day ever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just like beautiful. She's coming up on her 5-year anniversary.
That's awesome.
This year. So it's
That's
run to be
good.
true. And it hasn't been the last time somebody said that after their first day at Footers, which is amazing, especially now because I'm not nearly as involved in the day-to-day and the process. And there's people that, and these are, full-time people that are coming in. And when I hear that from them, I know that the team is carrying that on and really moving them forward.
Well, and what I love about that, Anthony, is, you said earlier that culture isn't just a project. One of the things we talk about in our framework is that culture needs a system. It needs rhythms, like every other key initiative of your business. It needs, it needs that intentionality. One of the tools we have is something we call the employee journey grid, where we're looking at all those different points in an employee's journey in the organization and saying, very intentionally, where does our culture show up? And we talk about that onboarding process and how that's a make it or break it. Like they're making some assumptions in the interviewing process about how they feel about this organization. But that first day and first week, little bit is so critical to them going, are they who they said they are? Yes. What's that experience? And so many times we will miss that. So I love that you shared those specifics of what that looks like for you, because I think sometimes we can take it for granted and assume it'll be fine. In a lot of the smaller organizations that I work with, it's like they kind of count on their relational skills to carry them through. And like they kind of fly by their seat of the pants on onboarding. Yeah. When in fact, that level of clarity and detail and attention to them to make them feel seen and known and valued in those first days, weeks, so critical. So thanks for sharing that. So good.
We had same thing when we were years ago. We were doing, we'd just piece it together. We'll figure it out. But we learned like certain things, like we'll never start somebody on a Monday. Like it's day to start somebody for us because you're coming off the weekend. It's the start of the week. You got all this stuff coming on. So we never start somebody on a Monday, and then we try to start them at 9 a.m. Like at the start of the day. Like give yourself 10. Give yourself an hour to get things, whatever you need to do, so that whoever they're going to be with is fully present when they come in. So little things like that you just like don't even think about because it's just like routine. Like, oh, it makes sense. It's the start of the week. It's the start of the day. Have them start then. Because you're not necessarily, as their managing leader, you're not necessarily mentally prepared to give them your best. So I love that. Such little nuances. Okay, there's a fourth. I was going to jump past it, but tell us number 4. It's MIBE. Work doesn't have to suck. Surround yourself with a kick-ass team. And this is we're getting into some of this, but the curation of who is on your team is such an important thing that a lesson I've learned the hard way many times. But our philosophy is that this is more about everybody on the team protecting the culture that you have.
Speak to that, because that was one of the questions I was going to dig in a little bit on is how do you get your leaders at every level really valuing and embracing the culture and modeling it?
So one of the things that I say, because there's a lot of people that'll complain to me about like, oh, our culture sucks or that's terrible. And I'm like, well, I hate to say this, but like you're part of it. And they're like, whoa, no, it's not me. It's not me. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. Like if you've got people that aren't truly living the values of the company, and I'm not saying like the person that annoys you, that just gets under your skin or, superficial things, but the people that like really aren't living what the proclaimed values of the company are, and you haven't said something about it, that's on you. To say something to somebody who can do. If you don't have hiring or firing power, I understand, that's okay. But you need to be the one if to say, this is a problem and here's why. Because we say we stand for this, and what this person is doing is completely opposite of that. And so that's the first thing that I say, because otherwise, every day you walk into that organization, I hate to say it, but you're putting your stamp of approval on that culture.
That's well said.
You're saying, you know what? I'm coming in. I'm going to complain about it, but I'm still coming in. Mm-hmm. You have a choice. You could go work somewhere else, or you could say something about it. And so when you start to look at like, I have to take some ownership of the organization that I'm part of, Now everybody is working towards creating this great culture, and they're not pointing the finger waiting for somebody else to fix it.
Gosh, that's so good.
This came full circle for us. A couple of years ago, we had a prep cook in our kitchen. One of the lowest paid people in our organization. She no responsibility, no authority over any, just a prep chef. In our kitchen. And one of the things we do at Footers is we do lunch every day for our team. Get together, you have family meal. It's my big thing. You don't take lunch back to your desk or back to the kitchen. Like, if you want to eat the meal that we provide, then everybody eats together. And it's our warehouse sales team, it's our culinary team, it's our design team. Everybody comes together in our lunchroom, and it's like community, right?
Yep.
And our prep chef says to April, my wife, and she's like, I have to tell you, this person that we have in the kitchen is making my life miserable, and here's all the reasons why. And like, goes through this whole thing. And, come to find out, like, April then had a conversation with our culinary leaders, and they had been having challenges. And she's like, why aren't we fixing this? Why aren't we just like, we need to remove this? This is like kind of critical. But the fact that, somebody in our organization at that level was willing to go to the top to say, this is a problem, and I care about it. I love working here, but this is miserable. This is making my life miserable. That, to me, spoke about, like, all right, we have people at every level protecting what we're building.
Yeah. Yeah. And they feel empowered to protect it. So there's some, just to also give encouragement to you and your leadership team, the fact that they felt like they could raise it also says there's a level of psychological safety and trust in the organization that we know this matters so much that we feel like we can raise it. And, because a lot of times people stay silent on things that they think leadership won't do anything about.
Right.
And so
because sometimes they won't.
Yeah, exactly.
And that goes back to the problem of, like, well,
yeah.
Not where you want to be.
The consistency of that. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's so many more questions I would love to ask you, but we're already going long. So good. Okay. So Anthony, let's do this before I want you to tell us more about MIBE, how to connect with you, and just, ways that you're serving leaders. But before I do that, if we've got leaders listening who maybe feel like they're, rewind to Footers 15 years ago when you purchased it, and you have a culture that necessarily doesn't reflect all that you hope or envision for it. And perhaps we have leaders listening who feel a little overwhelmed. They're like, I want so much more, but I feel so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. How would you coach them? Just next step.
Well, it's the philosophy of MIBE. And our belief with that is that wholesale changes are really hard on people, and you can do them
That's
for
good.
time,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like a sprint. And when people sprint, they have to rest, and you have to recover. And so what we think is much more sustainable is these small incremental improvements over time. That if you do one thing tomorrow, just one thing, like pick one thing you want to make better and focus on that and do that. And then the next day, do one more thing. And each day, if you just keep doing one thing better, what we talk about is after a year, like every day, you're not going to notice a difference. And that can be hard, right? You're like,
yeah, for sure.
Like I just did this, that didn't really make a difference. But then you start to look back over a year or 2 years or 4 years. And the hope that we have is that we're embarrassed of who we used to be.
Oh, that's good.
There's so much progress that we can look back and say, can you believe we used to do it that way? Can you believe that's how I showed up? Can you believe this? Like, that's the goal. But that doesn't happen because you just went and read a great book and, spent a whole week transforming everything. And then all of a sudden it's like magically better. That doesn't happen. It's the culmination of all those small things that you're doing. And so what I would say is pick one thing. Pick one thing that you feel good about, that you can control, and start doing that. I mean, we talk about like recognition, right? In December, one of the things, I just try to write one note every single day for one of my team members. It's a busy time for us, but just like one note. Do one thing, because that one thing hopefully builds on another thing that you can do the next. So start small.
That's really good.
And let it evolve into something amazing.
That's really good. That's so good. Awesome. Okay, tell us a little bit more about how where we can find out more about MIBE. You've got a conference coming up. Actually, probably the week this releases is the week of the conference, so they may have to catch the conference next year. But anyway, tell us more about how to connect with you and what you guys are doing. Yeah,
love for you to tune into what we're doing. TheMIBE.com is our website. Again, TheMIBE, leadculture.com. I'm active on LinkedIn, so you can find me, Anthony Lambatos, on LinkedIn. That's a good place to find me. You can also follow us, MIBE Leadership, on Instagram as well. We have some amazing things that we do. We put on an annual summit. We do heart leadership workshops throughout the year. So love to have people, if they're interested, join us at one of those things and connect with us.
Awesome. So good. Anthony, thank you for just the faithfulness you've demonstrated in leading and building just a dynamic culture and then helping equip so many other leaders to do that as well. We talked a lot about how culture work is patient and persistent work. And so I just love how you shared some of those stories and the journey that it's been, but how rewarding and so fun to hear how you've impacted both the leaders and the cultures that you serve. So thank you for that. Leaders, thank you for being with us today. I'm sure you're thinking of another leader that needs to hear this episode. So be sure to share this with them. Give us a rating and a review. Let us know how we're doing, and then come back next week for another episode. We'll see you then.